Welcome back, everybody, to the second of a three-part series on the Jewish approach to astrology. Last time we gave a general history of the Jewish approach to astrology, and today we're going to look at, from a different angle, we're going to look at what aspects of astrology are true, and how does this whole thing work? What's it all about? There's a very famous word heavily associated with astrology that many people don't even realize, but they're using it all the time in the Jewish context. When a person has a joyous occasion, bar mitzvah, wedding, bris, what's the first thing your grandmother says to you? Mazel tov. The word mazel is, what does it mean? What do most people think that it means? Luck. But mazel is also very much connected with the constellations. Mazal is a reference to astrological influence. It's written in our Jewish literature that the month, the day of the week, and even the hour of the day each contain a specific energy of astrological influence that impacts a person. Not only that, but we see that even this idea comes and expresses itself in Jewish law. Let's give some examples. We're told in Jewish law that the month of Adar, which is the month of Purim, is the mazel of the Jewish people is better. It's a higher mazel, it's a luckier time, it's an auspicious omen. We're told likewise that the month of Av is a time where the mazel of the Jewish people is less. And practically speaking, we're told that if a Jew, for example, has a court case around the month of Adar, it's a little bit before or whatever, he should try and reschedule it to the month of Adar because the luck of the time is a little bit better. That Adar is a lucky month. It's some positive energy taking place that month. So try and schedule your court dates to around Adar. Likewise, of the same, you want to try and get everything out of. So that's how we see one example of how the months play an impact. We see also with some concepts that are brought with regards to the Shabbos, the Friday night, astrological influence. The Ravya, one of the early Rishonim, says that the prayer, the sages instituted the prayer Magen Avos, right? Everyone knows the song. We say Friday night was put there to protect against the influence of Ma'adim. Ma'adim is the planet Mars. The spiritual influence of the planet Mars is said to be negative. So we say the prayer Magen Avos to kind of counteract and defend ourselves against that negative influence at that time. The Maharil says, with regards to Friday night, the Gemara in Shabbos, the Talmud, says that when a Jew walks home Friday night, he's accompanied by two angels. One is a good angel, and one is a not good angel. When they come home, and the table is set, and everything is as it should be, and everyone's friendly, and there's peace in the home, the good angel says, "May it be like this next week." And the bad angel is forced to say, "Amen." And it's a sign that it should happen again next week. When, on the other hand, you come home and everything's tumultuous and the table's not set and everyone's chasing each other or screaming at each other, the bad angel says, may it be like this next week, and the good angel is forced to say and concede and say, Amen. And it leads to that should happen in the future. What the Ma'aril says is very interesting. It says that each of the mazalos, each of the planets, the stars, representing a certain celestial energy, or representing an angel that's associated with them. He says that the good angel that's referred to in the Talmud is the mazel of Jupiter, of Tzedek, and the bad angel is the mazel of Ma'adim, of Mars. And so those are the two angels that are accompanying the Jewish people when they're coming home Friday night. Furthermore, the Magen Avram brings down, in the name of the Tikkuni Shabbos, that Friday night, at the beginning of the night, if it falls, these days we don't have to worry about it so much, but when Shabbos is a little bit earlier, that the mazel of Ma'adim, this negative astrological influence, is present from around the time of 6 to 7. So the Magen Avram says in the name of the Arizal, that there are those who are careful not to make Kiddush during this time. Why is it? Because you don't make Kiddush during a time where there's negative influence in the air. And in many Hasidic communities in particular, this is still practiced today, to not make Kiddush between around the time of 6 and 7. So we see that months have influence, day of the week has influence, the hour of the day has influence. The Gemara in Moed Katan says longevity, children, and sustenance are based on Mazal, based on what star you're born under. Mazel is etymologically, in Hebrew, related to the word which means to flow down. The idea of mazel is as follows. God and godliness is ultimate unified energy. It's ultimate spiritual unified energy. When God created the world, created the creation, the way in which He bestows, the way in which He reveals this energy down to the physical world is described as going through worlds. Each realm or world is a grade more coarsened and able to become a physical world. So each thing in the physical world, everything in the physical universe, has a corresponding thing in the spiritual world that it embodies. So when we say the planets have an influence, we don't mean what many people think, that the actual gas planet of Jupiter or the rock planet of Mars has any kind of spiritual influence. What we're saying is their corresponding spiritual energy in the spiritual worlds are indicated by the placement of where the planets are. Meaning if Jupiter is here, that corresponds to a certain spiritual energy happening upstairs. That means this is good or this is not good. I guess one way to look at it might be somebody has a watch on. Now, your watch says 5 o'clock on it. Now, the hands of your watch pointing at 5 o'clock doesn't make that the outside becomes 5 o'clock. Rather, the 5 o'clock on your watch indicates that it's 5 o'clock outside. It's just a sign of what's happening in the world. If you're half an hour late to your meeting and you set your watch a half an hour back, that doesn't change that in the world it's actually going back in time. No, you're just fiddling with the sign for it. But the world remains the same way. So the watch is merely a sign, as a symbol to us as to what's taking place in the world. In a similar way, the planets, the stars, the astrological influences, they themselves don't have a spiritual energy, but they are showing us what spiritual energy is taking place in the upper worlds. They indicate to us what is taking place upstairs. It's actually idolatry. Idol worship actually began through people misconstruing this idea. They said, well, God, obviously we believe in God. No problem. But God clearly delineated certain powers to the sun. The sun gives heat, the sun gives light, the sun will grow my crops. So when I want to, as a farmer, when I want to grow my crops, I'm not going to bother God. God is so removed from the situation. I'll just go directly to the sun and ask the sun to provide me with more light and more energy. When there's no sun, when it's nighttime and I want to ask the sun for something, so I can't ask, the moon's out. So instead I'm going to build a golden statue which will remind me of the sun, which will remind me that God is in control of the sun, which I can ask the sun now for extra energy to make my plants grow. The moon controls the tides. When I need some help in that realm, I'll ask the moon. Each star is associated with a certain energy. So I'll just ask that star for help in this particular situation. Before you know it, when children see, oh, daddy's praying to the sun again, so eventually God is dropped from the picture and people are just worshiping the sun. And eventually just worshiping figures of the sun, either totem poles or golden statues of the celestial objects, and God is completely dropped from the picture. So we always have to remember as Jews that God is in control of everything. The stars, even though astrological influence does have truth to it, that God really runs the show over here. The stars are just indicators of a certain energy that's taking place. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us every day of the week is associated with a certain energy. And that energy is based on what was created that day of creation. God created the world in 7 days, and each of the 7 days, based on what was created, has a certain energy that it carries. For example, Sunday, it says that one who's born on Sunday is going to be one-sided, meaning that since what was the first day, what God created on the first day? It was light. We have light and darkness. So the person who's born on Sunday will likewise either be completely good, like light, or completely not good, like darkness. What was created on Monday, the second day? It says that was when the waters, the upper waters and lower waters, were separated. So it says that someone who's born on Monday will be inclined towards anger or seclusion, because mimicking the idea of the waters being separated. Someone born on Tuesday, what was created on the third day was the herbs and vegetation. Someone who's born on Tuesday is likewise inclined towards wealth or promiscuity. Wednesday, the fourth day, was the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the stars. So it says that someone born on Wednesday will be inclined to be a bright individual, intellectual person, have a good memory. Thursday was fish and birds. That says that they're considered like a benevolent sort of creature, where that person will be generous or a charity giver. Friday is when the tree of knowledge was created and Adam and Eve were created. So it says that someone born on a Friday will have tremendous religious fervor. And Shabbos, the day that God rested, that first Shabbos, one born on Shabbos is also associated with a holiness. He'll be inclined or have a tendency towards becoming holy. Again, these things are not set in stone. These are merely tendencies based on the energy of the day that the person will be motivated towards. So we've looked at the days of the week. And each hour of the day is also corresponding to a certain energy. Now, I'm not going to go through each hour of every single day what energy it corresponds to, but it says that there's 7 astrological influences. We use the sun and the moon and the 5 visible planets from Earth: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So those are the 7 days of the week, the 7 astrological influences, and each hour also corresponds to one of those 7, and it keeps repeating itself throughout the week. So it says that someone who's born on the sun has a certain openness. Venus will be wealthy and immoral. Mercury, wise and have a retentive memory. It says that one born under the moon will suffer evil. Saturn will suffer frustration. Jupiter will have righteousness, and Mars will be inclined towards blood. What's interesting is that in Jewish tradition, the first hour of each day of the week has a celestial influence. It happens to be, not many people know this, that the days of our week, what we call them in English, actually correspond to the first hour energy of each of those days of the week. The days of the week that we have now are all named after either Roman times or even later, and are all based on misconstrued astrology, Jewish astrology, Hebrew astrology, of what the first hour energy of each day was. For example, what do you think the first hour's celestial influence of Sunday is? It's the sun. What about Monday? Or even better, even more clear in Spanish or Latin, lunes, the luna, the moon. And Tuesday, better in the Latin, more clear in the Latin, martes, Martes, Mars. Wednesday, miércoles, Mercury. Thursday is, in Spanish, is jueves with a J. It's Jupiter. Friday, viernes, Venus. Saturday, Saturn Day, Saturn. So all of the days of our week are named after a misconstrued astrology that was adapted by the Romans and later civilizations, but all stems back to the Jewish people. Let's talk a little bit about the months. Each of the Hebrew months is represented by an astrological sign. Now, you ever notice that when you look at, if you're, those of you who are into astrology, if you look at your astrological sign, that none of them are set in one particular month, that they're always kind of like in the middle of the month. It's like June 24th until July 22nd. It's always in the middle of the month. Why do you think that is? Perhaps it's because originally it was based on the Jewish months, which fall, in the middle of the calendar. Each one is based on the Jewish month. That the month of Nisan, the month of Elul, the month of Cheshvan, in the Jewish calendar, the lunar calendar, have each month has its particular energy. Let's take a look and see the link of the signs in the Jewish calendar. The month of Nisan, which is the month of Passover, usually falls out in the month of April. What's April's sign? It's Aries. It's the ram. What is the connection with the month of Nisan, Passover, and the ram? The Passover sacrifice. The Jewish people put the lamb on the door in Egypt, and every year the Jewish people offer the Korban Pesach. So we see the correlation, why Nisan and Aries and how they are connected. I'll give another example. Later in the year, the month of Elul, the month before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the month where we're trying to do teshuvah, where we're trying to return, repent, get back to our innocence, get back to who we really are. Elul usually falls around September time. What's the sign in September? It's Virgo. What's Virgo symbolized by? The Virgin. Purity. Innocence. Something that we're trying to achieve in the month of Elul. One more example is the month of Tishrei, the month where we have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, the time of the year where the world is being judged. It usually falls in the month of October. What is the sign of the month of October? It's Libra. What's Libra? What's the symbol of Libra? The scale of judgment. Where'd they get that from? I always thought it was interesting also, the month of Nisan, we said it was connected with Aries. Nisan in Jewish tradition is the first month of the year. What's the very first astrological sign?
Aries.
That's right, Aries. Where'd they get that from? Why is it like that? So if we were to go through all the months, we would see a very similar pattern, that each month, the energy and the symbol that it embodies also corresponds with what's going on in the Jewish calendar. So we definitely see that in the months, the days of the week, and the hours of the day, that there is a certain energy in our tradition that is associated with that time. The Ramchal in Derech Hashem says that everyone is born under a very particular mazel, born under a very particular influence, to emphasize their highly individualized purpose. Each person born at a specific time and in a specific place, on a specific day of a specific month, to show that each person's inclination, and each person has a different role to fulfill in this world. So we see that astrology in Jewish tradition does play a role on the personality that a person will have, perhaps even on the destiny that a person will have. But is this set in stone? What about predicting the future? Okay, it has part to do with my personality, but what about predicting my future? What the future is going to be based on the stars. Is a Jew allowed to do that? Find out next time.